Okay, before we get started on our create step, we now have a plan that we want to build, but a lot of you guys have never used Tinkercad before. Several of the 7th graders used it last year with Mrs. Heaver, and you logged in or you signed in to Tinkercad using your Google account. We are not going to sign in that way. We have a different way of signing in this year. That way, all of your designs that you make will go directly to the class, so you don't have to send them to me or anything like that. I can just go in and look at what you're doing. So we're going to spend some time going over some very basics of Tinkercad today. You will create a similar picture to this, which will involve rotating objects, resizing objects, moving them up or down on the work plane, and then you will take a screenshot of it and you'll enter your design right here in this side of the page. So in order to get to Tinkercad, if you're in art, you will click on this top link. If you're in technology, you'll click on this link. That will take you to a sign-in page, and it will have you put a nickname or a username in. Your nickname or username is the first letter of your first name, followed by your last name, and then 141. There are no spaces. So my first name's Kara, so my username would be K Anderson 141. Okay, so we're ready to go? Okay, if I'm in art, I'm going to click on this link. It takes me to the sign-in page, Welcome to Art STEM. If that does not come up, you have not done something correctly. So make sure you ask for some help or go back and see if you click the right link. Do not sign in with Google. So your username is your first letter of your first name, followed by your last name, and then 141. And then click That's Me. This will take you to what we call the dashboard in Tinkercad. Anytime you want to get back to the dashboard, this little Tinkercad logo will get you back here. This is where all of your designs will be saved, and what's really nice about it is Tinkercad automatically saves your designs. So the very first thing we're going to do is create a new design. So Tinkercad automatically names your designs, and it always gives it a really strange name. So you can just click on that, and this would be Tinkercad Basics is what we're doing right now. So let's give it a name so we remember what it's actually about. So this right here is called my work plane, and right now that work plane is in millimeters, and I know that because down here my snap grid says 1.0 millimeters. I can edit my grid. And remember in our Mars Challenge project that we have a constraint of it can't be any bigger than 8 inches by 8 inches. So millimeters doesn't make much sense. So let's change our grid to inches. That's the first thing I want you guys to do. So if you need to pause here and go to Tinkercad and change it, you can do so. Click Update Grid. Still looks the same, but now we're working in inches. Okay, that will just kind of keep things easier for us when we resize objects. These are some basic shapes over here. You can scroll down through there, and these are shapes that you can put together to make your objects or make your base. There are more shapes up here that you can definitely explore and see what's there, but your basics are always on this first page, and that's all we're going to use today. So the first thing I'm going to do is just click on that box, hold it down, and drag it over to my work plane. You'll notice when your box is selected, you'll see these little white squares in the corners and one up here at the top. This tells you that my box right now is 1 inch by 1 inch, and this one tells me it's 1 inch tall. The first thing I want you to do is to resize this. You have a couple of options when you resize. You can grab a corner and you can just drag it, or you can click on that corner and click in the box. And I think on the iPad, it will actually pop up in a new window for you. But I'm going to resize this. Let's make this one 1.5 inches or 1.5 inches. So I'll just type 1.5 in the box, and it will change it to fractions 1.5. So if you are dragging it with your finger, it's going to be fractions. So you may have to just wait till you see 1/2, right about there. So I want you to resize your box to 1/2 by 1.5, and that changed a little bit, so I should probably go back and fix that. So it's 1/2 by 1 1/2, and we don't have to worry about the height. Let's just go ahead and keep that 1 inch. Okay, so you should have pulled a box over and resized it, whether you drug the corners or typed in the boxes, your length and your width. Okay, now let me show you a few features so you can look at all sides. These are 3D, so we want to be able to see all angles of our project. If you grab this box up here, it's called our view cube, and you hold it down and you can move it, and you see all different angles of your object that you just brought over. This is very important if you need to rotate things. Make sure there are no gaps or things are lined up perfectly. You'll want to look at it from all angles. Over here are zoom in and zoom out keys. Sometimes, especially when you're working with an iPad, you zoom in really far and it seems messed up. There's a home key right here. When you press the home view, it automatically goes back to that original view when you first log in. That's always a nice one, especially if you accidentally zoom in too far. So on here you've got that. This one right here, let's say I have a couple different objects on my plane. If I want to zoom in on just this, I would highlight it and I'd click that and it brings that one up so I can see a little bit closer. And again, if I just went back to my home view, I can see both of them. So I'm going to get rid of that one because I don't really need it. Okay, so these right here, zoom in, zoom out. This one just gives you a flat view or a 3D view. I usually keep that 3D. This is your view cube to look all around. So play around with some of the different controls over here and just get used to using those and how you'd manipulate them. Okay, hopefully you're all good there. Pause the video if you need some more time. But what we're going to do now is I want to show you how to duplicate an object. All you have to do is touch it. Up here next to the garbage can is a stack of papers, and that's just duplicating it. You don't have to copy and paste here. You can, but this is much easier. So I click that. It duplicated, but it's right on top. At this point, what I usually use are the arrow keys on my keypad. So instead of using your fingers to move it over, do the arrow keys and just push it over to the right. And you have an object that's the exact same size. This is an advantage, especially so you don't have to resize things. You get them the exact same size. Or if you've put holes in them or made a composite shape and you want the exact same one for the other side, it's very nice and easy to just duplicate. Okay, so I want to show you the rotate key on here. So this one, what I want to do is I want to rotate it on its end. So I'm going to turn this and look at it from the side, from the left side. You should see these little curved lines here. You also see a curved line down here. That's another way we can rotate it. But I want to use this one on top. Bring it down just a little. So you grab that line, hold on it, and move it. I want you to rotate it 45 degrees. You can go this way, or you can do 45 degrees that way. It does not matter. It would be the same. Let go. Now, if you notice, we're underneath our work plane right here. I don't want to be underneath the work plane. I want to bring this corner right up to the work plane. That's this black triangle. If I grab that and pull up, I can pull it up or push it down as far as I want to go. So now I've got the shape that was on the left. It has now been rotated. And then I want to take this one and I want to rotate that one so I'm looking at the larger side, the wider side. So on this one, I don't want to rotate up here because that's just going to bring it flat. I'll put that back up there. What I want to do this time is I want to rotate it along this axis. And I'm going to do it 90 degrees because I want to see the other side. So now I've got the wider side facing forward, facing the front. So that should be a little bit of practice on rotating. You could always bring over more objects and practice some more, but I want to see both of these on your work plane when you submit your project. And then one last thing on here, just to kind of make sure you've got bringing it over and raising them up and rotating. Let's make a quick ice cream cone. Who doesn't like ice cream? So bring over your cone, and we've got to have that upside down. So I'm going to grab this curved arrow. Whoops, let go of it. Try it again. So I'm having trouble there, so I'm going to just get a better view of that curved. Okay, here's another thing. Good thing of troubleshooting here. So if you're having trouble, click on that, and you can click on that 0. I want it completely the other way, so that's 180 degrees that I'm rotating it. So if it's hard to move it with your finger, go ahead and just type it in. Okay, and then down here we have a half a sphere. That's going to be my ice cream. Bring it over. And then I want to raise it up. Now this is 1 inch high, so I'm going to raise this up 1 inch, and you can see it over on the right hand side how far it's raising. So it's raised up 1 inch. And then select it. If I'm going to move my arrow keys just to move it left and right, and I'm just going to kind of line up. So it kind of looks like it's lined up there, but if I look at it from the side, I'm nowhere close. That's what I mean by always looking at your designs from all sides. Now see how this is not quite lined up there? And if I use my arrow keys, it's not lined up on that side. That's where your snap grid helps. If you want to be more exact in lining some things up, instead of 1/8 of an inch every time we press the arrow key, maybe we move it 1/64 of an inch. So it's just a much smaller fraction. So now when I push my arrow keys, oops, I gotta select it, it moves a lot, just a smaller amount, so I'm able to get it lined up a little bit better. And good thing I looked at it from the front, because that's nowhere close to where I want to be, is it? How do I look? A little bit more that way? Okay, look at it from all sides, make sure you like it. I don't think I like it from this side. And tomorrow I will show you a trick to help you line that up without having to look at it on all sides. But that looks pretty good there. Okay, so when you are done, go ahead and go back to your home view there so you can see all 3 of them. And then you're going to take a screenshot of your project, and then you're going to insert that back here. So remember, you just hit the plus arrow and insert your image right in here. When you're done, click Turn In to Google Classroom, and we will get that graded for you. If you have any help, please reach out to Mrs. Anderson, Mr. Baxter, or Mrs. Stahl.